Welcome to the Sports Lounge, brought to you by the Sportsbook at Waterview Casino in Vicksburg.
Welcome to the Lounge. Coming up, NBA playoffs take center stage, Rodney Hood's heroics, and Ray, you know I'm fired up. It's PGA Championship week.
Absolutely, man. Back here at home, we got a stat on Mississippi football that you may not believe, plus our in-state college baseball rivalry getting a little ugly, man.
Table for two, never ugly. It always gets interesting. We'll look at Major League Baseball's popularity problem as summer and America's pastime comes into full swing.
And for sure. And our special guest, Randy Bolden, joined us. You may remember Randy coached NBA star Rodney Hood over at Meridian in 2011, led them to a state championship. Always good to hear from Coach Bolden.
Yeah, can't wait to talk ball with him. He's also got a son who's probably the number one player in the state of Mississippi now that DJ Jeffries is gone. So we'll talk with Randy about that as well. I mean, you talk about big time. I mean, two-time SWAC Player of the Year out of Forest Hill, baby.
That's right. JPS
Jackson and JPS. Well, Ray, let's start things off with our starters and look at the NBA playoffs and the conference finals. Now, you and I have enjoyed so much talking NBA playoffs, breaking down each round. What a round we just had. Really it's nice. Always the best in the playoffs, but now we look ahead. Milwaukee and Toronto in the Eastern Conference Finals, and Golden State and Portland in the West, and of course, Rodney Hood in that series. Which one's more intriguing for you?
For me, man, it's the Bucks and Raptors, believe it or not. I'm just kind of burnt out on the Golden State storyline, man, because at the end of the day, until somebody beats them, it doesn't really matter what's going on in the West. In the East, though, you got two dogs, man. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kawhi Leonard. Two guys that take their teams, put them on their shoulders, and lead them to the promised land. I think we'll see them matched up a lot, too, so I think that'll be an intriguing storyline as well, man. So I'm just excited to see that.
I mean, you can't really get much better in the game today than Kawhi and Giannis. Like, they are continually proven through the first two rounds that, hey, however high you're ranking us, like top five, just keep on pushing it up.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, though, with Golden State and Portland for a couple of reasons. I think Kevin Durant's injury and the intrigue there adds a lot more to this series. I think that also that creates like this matchup where you've got point guard, shooting guard, like ISO Joe talked about on a pop-off pod earlier. I mean, point guard, shooting guard on each side. I don't think you have a better combination in the NBA than McCollum and Lillard and Curry and Klay Thompson. And so I agree with you that it's like Warriors again, but because they're minus Durant potentially, and they're going to get back, I think, to a little more of that old Warriors team ball, and also because it does feel like maybe Portland has a real chance in that series without Kevin Durant being there for Golden State. It's like I'm really intrigued at that series, and I just think it might be a little more exciting basketball. I mean, they're going to be moving up and down.
And I tell you this, though, if Portland's going to have an opportunity to win this series, they're going to have big play from Mississippi's own Rodney Hood.
Queen City, yeah.
How about that? So, he suffered that injury, towards the end of the last series versus the Denver Nuggets. But, John, how impressed are you with Rodney's, I don't want to say comeback, but bounce back?
It's a resurgence. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Come back, bounce back. I think there's a little bit, though, of Rodney was here the whole time.
Yeah.
And here's what I mean. Like, it's surprising, I think, in the sense that you didn't expect him to bounce back from that malaise that he was in.
Sure.
To the degree where Ray, I mean, he was Portland's guy in two different games.
No doubt.
I mean, they were not only like giving it to Rodney Hood, they were running everything through Rodney Hood. So you're a little bit surprised like when it's happened and to what degree. But Rodney Hood is a flat out like give you buckets guy. Like, so it's not surprising in that we know he's capable of this. We saw it at Meridian, we saw it at Mississippi State, we saw it at Duke, and you saw it in the NBA in Utah. So I think the degree is a little surprising, but I think you and I both know as well as anybody, like this is kind of who Rodney can be.
No question. And last series was ideal for him because for some odd reason they kept putting guys that are way smaller on Rodney, expecting it to, I guess, kind of hide that defender on Rodney, and he made him pay.
And I love the confidence that he took with it. He was like, no, I'm going to own this dude.
He made him pay. So if the Warriors want to take that same approach and maybe put Steph on him, then he's going to make Steph pay. It's not about the defender. If they're going to put a 6'3 guy, a 6'2 guy on a 6'8 Rodney Hood, we know that this guy can put up buckets in a hurry.
Well, and that's what I mean in terms of Hood's capability. Like, here's a guy, like, he's not a tweener. He doesn't have limitations. I mean, I don't know, up here, and we'll talk with Randy Bolden about, what's going on up here with Rodney Hood. But here's a guy who's 6'8", who can shoot over you, can shoot the three, can play the mid-range game, can pass, can put it on the floor. I mean, it's like again, this is kind of what he's built for.
This is perfect.
Bit.
And I just think, man, he was in a bad spot at his last, when he was with the Cavaliers, it felt good when they made the trade and brought everybody in and said, oh, we're going to get LeBron shooters. But the NBA game is very specific. For your superstars, Kevin Durant, they can play anywhere. But a guy with a niche like Rodney Hood, he can't just be in any system. He's in the right one now, though, for sure.
And with LeBron, like we've seen this, we've seen it in the past with LeBron. There are certain players who he bastardizes a little bit, who he makes worse.
No question.
In that, like, he needs role players and certain shooters. But if you're a guy, I mean, think about Rodney Hood, 6'8", does it all. Like, that's what LeBron does.
Yeah.
So it was really hard for Rodney to find, like, that role player spot with Cleveland when in fact like he's a plus scorer. You know what I mean? He's a guy that in the right system, like he's gonna be your first option on the court.
And Rodney's in the perfect situation because he's playing with two stars, one superstar and Damian Lillard that are not afraid to just hand it off to him and say, you got the hot hand, now you go to work.
We'll keep it in Mississippi here, Ray. A little college baseball action. Mississippi State sweeps Ole Miss this past weekend. And so I want to come back to that again. I mean, you look at where these teams are right now. Mississippi State, top 5 ball club in the country, national seed awaiting. They'll no doubt host in the regional. But you talked about, again, this is now in 4 years, Mississippi State 14-2 against Ole Miss. Let me flip it another way. Mike Bianco in the last 4 years in the rivalry is 2-14. Are these programs separating? Is this a concern for Ole Miss?
I can't remember who said it, but somebody said it's only a rivalry if both teams are winning. Otherwise, it's just a beatdown. Yeah. And that's what it is. I think they are separating. I think now Mississippi State is not just the state standard of baseball. It's a national standard when it comes to year in and year out putting out a program that can compete for a national championship. Ole Miss is going the other way. If Mississippi State is going that way, Ole Miss ain't. So at the end of the day, yes, they are separating themselves, and Mississippi State is doing it in a major way.
I think that we have to be a little careful on, like, is someone separating or not? Like, we heard this in football also, in the reverse, that Ole Miss with their recruiting was leaving Mississippi State. Well, not so fast. I think that stuff is a bit cyclical in terms of who's up and who's down, but there's no way you don't look at, like, the rivalry itself and say, there's something going on here. Like, Mississippi State has the upper hand over Ole Miss. Now, they got Jake Mangum, who hits, like, 600 against Ole Miss. I mean, like, they can't get him out for 4 years. Like, they haven't gotten this dude out.
They're ready for him to leave.
But your worry, Ray, you and I have seen this in this state. A lot of times the Egg Bowl or the rivalry, basketball, baseball, while it may not define you, it can be a tipping point. And I think that's the worry with Mike Bianco, is that Ole Miss fans who are little wanting to kind of move on, turn the page, like, the last thing that you want for Bianco is to just get, like, pole dragged by your rival.
That's the problem with the rivalry in all of the sports, because you can find yourself unemployed if you lose to him too much. Now, I would caution Ole Miss fans and whoever is in charge of making those decisions, I wouldn't just push him out the door, because he's a heck of a coach.
You're not getting a much better baseball
I mean, if you're going to get rid of him, then who are you going to bring in, right? So I would just caution that. Yeah, like I said, Mississippi State has separated themselves, in my opinion, but it does not mean that you don't have the coach to get you back on track.
And a lot of baseball still to be played, like, this season.
Sure.
Let's keep in mind, like, where Mississippi State was last year with an interim coach and kind of left for dead, and they make a College World Series run. We've seen Ole Miss beat really quality teams in the SEC this year. So, let's not bury them yet, and certainly not Mike Bianco, but it's, I think, a disturbing trend a little bit in the rivalry. PGA Championship week. How excited? You know how excited
I know how excited you are.
Where is this on your radar, like, usually? The PGA Championship? And has it changed at all? I mean, you know about the move, and they moved it to May.
So,
like, where is this on your radar?
As the casual fan, I am the casual golf fan. The fact that it moves takes a little bit of the luster off. Here's why. At the end of the year, it's the last major, right? It was the last major. So that was something for me to tune in and say, all right, this is the last one, man. Let me get my rocks off. Well, I feel like...
your what?
I feel like putting it in
what did you just say about watching golf?
Here we go.
Okay.
So I feel like putting it in the second spot takes a little bit of the juice off of it, because it's following up behind the Masters. I'm still riding the wave of Tiger, to be quite honest with you.
Sure.
And I'm not really... If it's going to be the second major, it just takes a little bit of the luster off to me.
I think it's a good point, Ray, and it's not really something that I had considered until we started talking about this week. And you check out Play It Where It Lies, our PGA Championship show with Stuart the Gent Conway, and we got into this there. And Ray, like, when they made the announcement about the move, I was like, this is great for golf. Like, this is the way the schedule needs to be in terms of March, April, May. You had something sort of each month, and the PGA would like it would always get hot and nasty. It's like, I think it's a better spot. But you're right. I think an unforeseen thing is that it's kind of getting swallowed up a little bit. You know what I mean? Because you're right here during the NBA playoffs on TNT. And like TNT is like, I don't see much on the PGA Championship. I mean, we've been watching TNT for 2 weeks. Like, it's this week. And I think that I didn't anticipate that it being here in the calendar instead of those dog days of summer, like you talk about, sort of mid-August, that it would have a hit on the promotion. I don't think there's any doubt about it. Like, I love the PGA, but I think it has gotten overshadowed with the move a little bit.
And like I said, I just think for a casual guy like myself, if you're looking for one more golf event to watch to close out the year, I know it's August, I know it's muggy, I know it's not ideal, but for a guy like me who doesn't watch every single tournament, it's the one thing I'm going to tune into, a major. So by putting it in between, the Masters and then you got the Open Championship, it puts a damper on it, if you ask me.
It's sound, and it's a great perspective to get from a guy like you, who is not quite as dialed in, golf obsessed as I am, to understand how you internalize it. And I totally agree with you. I think it's a good point. Interesting stat, Ray, came out a couple weeks ago. Now, we know how great Mississippi is in terms of our football prowess, the legacy, the names, the Mount Rushmore, and for a while it has been Mississippi and Louisiana sort of trading off in terms of most football players per capita in the NFL. The latest rankings, Ray, aren't close. Like, it's Mississippi by a mile. What stands out to you about it?
The fact that you and I already know how much talent this state puts out there, and I think just for the nation to be able to see that now, it's kind of like, not justification because we don't have any dog in the fight, but it shows, man. What impresses me, though, and you and I talk about all the time, the amount of what I call trench guys that the state puts into the NFL. Offensive line and defensive line. You know what I mean?
We feed our big people down here in Mississippi.
Our folks,
we got big, strong people.
And it translates well. And I think so often, man, everybody just dances around the state of Mississippi when it comes to the talent. But it's why the SEC is so competitive and so dominant. It's the same reason why the ACC in those southern states are so dominant. Because at the end of the day, if you look at that list, it's Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Florida. That's the reason why.
When you look at like this year in the NFL draft with the amount of Mississippi guys from this state, not just played college ball, but actually, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Jeff Simmons, I mean, real Mississippi products. It speaks to it. My one question here, Ray, is which direction is this going? Like, what's the trend? Because in a lot of places around the country, participation in football is down for all different reasons. Technology, time, certainly the safety concern. And I see that some in Mississippi. Like, I wonder, and I wonder at times, is high school football as important as it used to be? Are as many people playing? But the numbers tell you otherwise. Like, I mean, I don't think that's the case in Mississippi.
No, man, we do it, and we do it well. You can tell from a Friday night all the way until Sunday, football is key. Old Coach Bobby Hall said it, right?
Please give me a Bobby Hall quote.
It's family, it's faith, and it's football.
Absolutely.
And that's what it is. I mean, and it's not going to change in the near future. And I'm telling you, it's why you see this translation from high school to college and from college to the pros. We do it better than anybody, and the numbers are showing it.
Yeah, football second to none in this state. Hey, speaking of second, somebody say two. Got a little table for two coming up. Let's see. I mean, we got basketball, Canadians,
good
PGA,
movies, all that stuff,
TV series, everybody's favorite segment. Ray and I almost burned down the lounge 2 weeks ago. The great fried chicken debate. We'll see what's on tap. And
I got more heat coming.
I know you do, man. That's why.
I'm gonna hurt some feelings this week.
That's why we pay you the big bucks. I hope you do. So stay tuned. It may not be safe for work, but we're glad you're with us either way. Table for two coming up in the Sports Lounge.
Follow us online at Bash Brothers Media and share, like, and follow the show to enter to win a one-night stay for two at Waterview.
Hanging out in the lounge with my man John Wiener, Hack and Hank, Josh the Juice. Give me the call, man.
ISO! ISO Joe on the ISO camp. Look, we want everybody to be a part of this great time here in the Sports Lounge. So it's real easy. Get all your friends involved in the hottest new show in sports. Like the page, follow the page, and of course, make sure you share the show. So we got some table for two coming up in a second. Randy Bolden, longtime Meridian coach, Rodney Hood's state championship coach, is going to join us in the Sports Lounge. Game time still to come. Real live beer pong in the Sports Lounge.
How about that?
It's graduation weekend, man. And
we need to celebrate the right way.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll commemorate it like whether you're going from high school to college or you're graduating college. Like, it's a great time for a beer pong party.
Is, no
Either
doubt.
time. So game time coming up in the Sports Lounge. But right now, let's deep dish a little bit and look at, a difficult conversation, I think, in sports, because right now it's like we're turning the page and we get to summer. It's like Major League Baseball takes center stage. It's supposed to take center stage, but ISO Joe, you are as big of a baseball fan as anybody in the lounge, probably more so than anybody here in the lounge. Do you buy and do you feel like the narrative and the discussion that's out there that like Major League Baseball's popularity is just plummeting?
I don't think there's any doubt about it. The NFL has already surpassed it, and baseball was America's game. It was the number one. Now the NFL has surpassed, and I don't think there's any doubt that the NBA is right behind the NFL, coming up quickly on the MLB. So yeah, I do think it's an issue that it is kind of losing some of its luster, I guess, and
Well, let me ask you this, because like we know that it is from a national perspective in terms of the numbers and the ratings, but a lot of people will say, well, it's just gotten more regional. You're in New York, you're a Yankee guy. Like, do the Yankees have the same like pull and kind of relevance that like they did in the the late '90s and stuff? I mean, they're winning championships every year, but like, what about there in New York City?
I'd say it's not as big as it used to be. I definitely think that it is very regional now, and that is part of the issue, is that it's losing that national pull. It's really becoming a regionalized sport, and because of that, you're kind of losing some of those national fans who don't have a team so close to them. But New York still, you get a little bit more than you will in any other state just because of the Yankees, the power that they have. The Mets, too, are always diehard fans there, despite them being not too good.
Despite them being the Mets.
But that being said, the Yankees still have some pull more than any other state, but it's not the same that it used to be back in the 90s.
So here's the other factor for me. I'm just now kind of getting back into the game, honestly.
Okay.
I'm a huge Atlanta Braves fan, but I took a few years off, man. I'll tell you the reason why. The games take forever. Now, watching a game live, a baseball game, I'll put it up there with just about anything.
Absolutely.
Watching a baseball game live is phenomenal. But man, when you're sitting at home and that thing takes 4 hours, you can find stuff to do besides watch the game. For me personally, that is a huge, huge issue.
I think it's the biggest issue, guys. Like, I think like there are about 6 or 7 major factors in terms of like Major League Baseball's declining popularity. But I think if you were to ask me, like the top one is that our world has sped up so much and now the game is just so slow. True. Like I love baseball. It was all I wanted to do as a kid. It was my sport. I was obsessed with the game. But I turn the game on now, and like it's difficult even for me, Joe, to watch the game just because the sensitivity of it is so slow now compared to, like Ray said, every other thing that we do.
And that's the biggest issue that they're facing, without a doubt. I think that the speed of the game, how long it takes, and there are 2 issues really with that. I could go on for days with a number of issues that they're really having, but 2 of the issues in that point is that, you look at the analytics, and I'm not a guy that's, going against the stats or hating on the stats. I think they're great, and they do give you some sort of insight. But because of all the analytics and sabermetrics and whatnot, there's a lot more strikeouts in the game. Pitchers are not going as long as they used to. And because of that, you're seeing more pitching changes. And a 2-hour game or a 2.5-hour game now takes 3 hours because of those back innings where you're just having pitcher change, because you're trying to get the right matchup. So I think that is a huge issue.
The game's getting even slower as we get faster.
So here's, how do you fix that, though, I guess is my question. Can you fix it? Can you fix that problem?
Let me ask you one more thing first, before we go. And because I think part of it, the other big problem, like when you and I were growing up, I mean, it was King Griffey Jr.
Oh, man.
It was Barry Bonds.
No doubt.
It was Mark McGwire. It was Roger Clemens. All of those guys were American-born, megastars. You just don't see that anymore in the league, and you certainly don't see it in the African-American community. I mean, there is no King Griffey Jr. and Barry Bonds. Like, I think that is, it wouldn't be like number one on the list, but I think that's a big factor, like in this country, is like the lack of really identifiable American stars, black or white.
Man, it's a huge factor. Look, when I grew up watching the Atlanta Braves on the Superstation, right? Dude, Fred McGriff, David Justice, Terry Pendleton. The names can go
Great
the names can go on and
Ron
on.
Gant. Don't sleep on my guy Ron Gant, man.
So, Deion Sanders for a little bit.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, yes, you saw faces that looked like you. Right or wrong, that's the point. You have to see people in sport that look like you to make you want to be involved, right? So we don't see that anymore. I'm getting back into the sport because guys that I used to cover, I'm seeing on the national stage now. So that's why it's easy for me to watch. And I've always been a fan of the game. But the other difficult part for me is I hate seeing either feast or famine, strikeout or home run. That's the other part that bothers me, man. And it goes back to what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I like the 6-5 game.
Yeah,
like, give me a starter who's going to go 6-7. You know, it's like I'm not asking for 1-0 out there, but I don't know that anybody wants to go back to 1998 either with like HGH and moonballs. But it still feels like they're trying to figure out, you know, the middle ground. It's a good question, I think, as we close on the deep dish. Like, how much of a problem is this, guys? And like, is it a trend that can be reversed?
When you talk about the length of the game, it's hard to really reverse that. I think that there are other
trying.
Right, they are trying, they are doing some stuff, but you've already kind of lost people with the, you know, the boringness of the game and whatnot, as people would kind of refer to it, or the slowness of the game.
Yeah.
I think there are other things that you can do to work kind of around that. And you talk about superstars. I think they're having a real issue with promoting superstars and the lack of superstars. So you need to do more with that. They've also, MLB is one of the toughest on social media on pulling down their content. We know this is a world that lives on social media. Everything is on your phone. And so I think they maybe need to pull back on that and get more of their content in front of more eyes.
Is it a trend that can be reversed, or is this a ship sailed in terms of like baseball's popularity nationally?
Man, I think it can be reversed, and here's why. So I watched the playoffs last year for the first time in a while. It was phenomenal.
It's riveting.
I mean, honestly, so if we're just talking about the game, the quality of the game, it's still there. Once you put the big names and the great teams in front of you, dude, it's awesome. They got to find a way, like we said, to shorten the game. I don't know if we still need to play 162 games anymore
that's a huge
either.
part of it also.
You know what I mean?
So like, get off the calendar in like mid-August.
And let's get this thing done, man, because at the end of the day, when you put your best and brightest out there, that product can still rival the NBA playoffs.
And
it really can.
That, I think, is the test for owners, not just in Major League Baseball. They're talking about it in the NBA, too, in terms of the length of the season.
Yeah.
You are certainly sacrificing a lot of short-term money to shorten any kind of season, to go from 162 to, let's say, 125.
Sure.
I mean, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that owners would leave on the table in the short term. But I think that television ratings, popularity, like you saw it in the NBA lockout season. Ratings were up.
That's right.
Because there were less games to watch.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the test for owners, like in baseball. You want to talk about shortening the season, because I think it's huge. Are you willing to literally leave hundreds of millions of dollars on the table in stadium leases, concessions, TV contracts, the whole deal for that long-term success of the game? You know?
We'll see what the answer is. I'm not really sure if there is one direct answer to fix the game, but they're going to have to figure something out.
Speaking of seeing what the answer is, it's time for like everybody's favorite segment. This segment is going viral worldwide. It's actually pretty simple, but it's all right here in the Sports Lounge. Table for two. ISO Joe, what do you got? What we got on Table for two?
What's the rules of this
So
thing?
Table for two, for those who don't know, I give you
Ray
guys...
I don't think Ray knows. It's obvious. Our audience knows more than Ray now.
That's true. It's a fact.
No, it is. So the rules are, I'm going to give you three, and you have to choose from those three, Ray,
Allegedly.
and pick two. Yes, allegedly.
Anything goes in here, though. But yeah, 3 choices, 2 seats.
The table for two this week. A couple of them are NBA playoff related, so let's get into those first. Basketball movie: White Men Can't Jump, He Got Game, and Space Jam.
All classics.
All classics.
All classics.
Who's going first?
I'll tee this one up.
All right.
I think you have to go with White Men Can't Jump. I mean, with Billy Ho and Sidney and all the great lines. I mean, White Men Can't Jump is a seminal basketball and I think sports movie. I absolutely love White Men Can't Jump. And I think you have to go Space Jam. Like, you got Michael Jordan and the Monstars and like Muggsy Bogues and all those guys. Like, is Space Jam a better movie than He Got Game? No, not even close. But like, would I, like, at the end of the day, would I rather, like, I think just have like Space Jam that side and White Men Can't Jump? I think so. So He Got Game's out.
All right. As much as I love and respect Denzel Washington, who's my favorite actor, I got to get He Got Game out of here because Jesus Shuttlesworth, a.k.a. Ray Allen, that acting was horrible.
Yeah, he doesn't quite measure up to Denzel.
It was horrible. At the end of the day, The White Man Can't Jump is a classic.
Yeah.
Absolute classic. In Space Jam, I'm not going against Michael Jordan. The Looney Tunes, man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, and a lot of this in Table for Two is not necessarily like what's the best.
Sure.
Sometimes it is, but more like what's your favorite or like what's going to have like the most clout at the table.
That's right.
And so Space Jam
So
gets
we
it.
agree.
So we're on the same page there.
Go ahead, Joe.
All right, let's go over to the Canadian side of things in honor of Toronto Raptors making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So we got Steve Nash, Wayne Gretzky, and Justin Bieber.
I'll go first.
So this is just like Canadians, like which of these Canadians do we want on the table? Okay, cool.
Which of these? Okay. So the great one belongs at anybody's table.
Absolutely.
Can we all agree on that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I was about to say, let's just stop now. Okay.
If his daughter wants to come to the table,
She comes sit at the table,
right on, man. Table for four.
Right, table for four. We'll bring
Table for you.
bring in a table. So Wayne's gonna be there. I'm going Steve Nash, man. I've always liked Steve Nash's game, but more importantly, I ain't sitting at a table with Justin Bieber.
I can't decide if I like really want Justin or want no part of Justin.
You want no
two.
part of Justin at the table.
I want Justin.
I don't.
You want Justin?
I'll take Justin. Oh, yeah.
See, I mean, Joe's one step from Jersey Shore, man. Like, I mean, you should have seen the guy with the chain on.
Don't do that. Don't
I
associate
can
him
just
with Jersey.
see like ISO and Bieber like just hitting the town together, man.
Not that Steve Nash is going to bring like any intriguing conversation to the
but
table.
I think he might though.
But
do you see they had Steve Nash like breaking down the Champions
Oh,
League?
yeah, no
That
doubt.
was such a
No
TNT
doubt.
move. We're covering the Champions League. Let's get Steve Nash to break it
I
down.
just don't know what I'm going to talk to Justin Bieber about. I mean,
I think Justin might bring a lot of other good things to the table.
he'll bring some good stories, if nothing else.
Some stories and some, people and whatever else you might want at your table for two. Late night, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm going Steve Nash and Wayne Gretzky.
We're going to split right here, I believe. Let's see.
We're going to see.
Let's see.
All right, let's go back to the NBA playoffs and moves for this one. So we got the fadeaway, the hook shot, and the baseline spin.
After you, sir.
These are post moves, right? So we did we had the Euro step
That's right,
conversation,
that's right,
and
yeah.
that was a fun. So I wanted to bring it back with the post move. I think the baseline spin is maybe my favorite move in like all of basketball.
The Dream used to do it real nice.
The Dream did it, but when Shaq would and Carmelo would do it a lot. The pivotness of it, I don't know if that's a word, but like Shaq's baseline spin when he would, spin off you this way and go dunk it with the offhand.
As Shaq would say, feet work,
That's what I mean. It's not an easy move. Like, let me put it that way. Like, there's not a lot of people who can pull off the baseline spin. I mean, those guys we listed, Olajuwon, Carmelo, Shaq, I mean, you're talking about all-time great scorers on that end. So I'm going to go with the baseline spin and the hook shot.
Okay.
Like, not many people do the hook shot anymore, but I think it would be pretty cool if someone like brought the hook shot back because you can't guard it, man. It's like hook.
So I'm down with the hook shot, man, because at the end of the day, there's only one person who can truly do the hook shot. That's Kareem, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's as the legends would say, the most unguardable move in basketball was the hook shot. I can't go baseline spin when the fadeaway is there. If you put anything in the fadeaway slot.
I'm so done with the fadeaway, man.
But when I think fadeaway, the first thing I think of is Jordan dropping cats off, right? And just the art of his fadeaway.
Yeah.
So I can't put that on the back burner, just like I can't put the hook shot. So just by default, I'm putting baseline spin.
There's just too much negativity around the fadeaway for me right now. Like it's a kind of a bad aspect of the NBA in some ways. Like it's oversaturated, let's put it that way. Like you see somebody out there like wetting you up with a hook shot, it's like you're not going anywhere. You're watching that.
That guy's probably like 52 that's wetting you up with that hook shot and giving you the blues.
And the baseline spin, like we said, there's only a few guys who can pull that move off. It's just the fadeaway's a dime a dozen now. And a lot of times it's like that's become the predominant shot in the NBA when maybe you don't want it to be. So Jordan obviously like made that such a weapon, the fadeaway. And now if you're a wing guy, if you're a two guard all the way to four, like you're gonna shoot the fadeaway. But
everybody's doing it. I got you.
We're over faded away a little bit. We need to the fadeaway maybe needs to fade away.
Okay. Nicely done.
We could have done actually a lot better. Yeah, stay with us, please.
All right, in honor of John going down to my old stomping grounds in Long Island, PGA Championship picks. Yeah. So we got Rory, DJ, Tiger.
You let me go first, so you can have the bulk of the time on this one.
Please do.
Tiger, because he's Tiger. I mean, that's easy, right? Maybe it's not so easy for you, but for me, Tiger. Between the two, man, I think as much as I don't understand this guy sometimes and how much talent he has, I'm going with DJ. I mean, at the end of the day, he's got so much talent where he should be winning all the time.
Absolutely.
But he just doesn't. So I just want to sit him at the table and say, what's going on inside of that brain of yours?
He won't tell you much, but what he will do is just go out there and strike. And I think Dustin Johnson wins this week.
Ooh.
So I'm definitely having Dustin Johnson at my table because I think he lifts the Wanamaker Trophy.
Yeah.
And we said it on Pop-Off Pod. We said it on Play It Where It Lies. And so might as well go ahead and double, triple down on it here in the Sports Lounge. So I'm going to go with Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy. I don't expect this to be a great week for Tiger in a way that it felt like everything was peaking towards Augusta. I mean, we know how difficult it is to come off of that high, even for a guy like Tiger who's won 15 and 81. He hasn't played since the Masters. It wouldn't shock me if Tiger was in contention and could win this on Sunday.
Yeah.
But in terms of the course also it sets up for the longest and straightest hitters. And as good as Tiger is, he's not that guy anymore. Not like a Rory, who's the best driver in the world, and Dustin Johnson, who's been a little finicky this year, but we know how good he is with the T-ball. So actually, in a bit of a surprise, I don't necessarily think it's Tiger's week to bet on him, but I think Rory and DJ have to be at your table for two when you're talking about picks to win it.
Let's close it out.
All right, last up. Game of Thrones is finishing up, so let's do some of the greatest TV series at this table. And we got Sopranos, The Wire, and, of course, Game of Thrones.
Who's going first?
I'm interested to see what you say here.
Okay, so I'll go first.
Please do.
I don't mind. He's trying to set me up
No,
right now.
I'm interested.
It's fine. So
because there's a lot personal stakes in this.
I
You
can
know
tell.
what I mean?
He's already getting aggressive right now.
No.
So The Wire. Are we in agreement with The Wire?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
No, it's the
All right.
it's
we're on the right track.
there's
man.
The Wire and everything else.
And then there's everything else.
It's the best.
So
it is. If it's not the best season, best series in television history, it is certainly I think the most impactful. It was the most revolutionary TV series that has ever been done. It set the tone
for everything behind
it changed the game.
Right.
In TV
it changed the game. So no question, The Wire. We don't have to do too much with that. Listen, man. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna get excited about dragons.
Come on, man.
All right, I'm not gonna get excited about castles. And listen, man, The Sopranos. What are we talking about? We're talking about real life gangsters. That are taking you out with just a look.
Yeah.
And you want me to put that up against dragons?
I mean, there's a little more nuance to Game of Thrones than dragons and castles, and I am in fact obviously we're gonna go with The Wire. I don't know, man.
Go ahead and say it, please.
Miss me with The Sopranos. I mean, The Sopranos is great, and and I would say in the same way you talk about The Wire in terms of its influence, and the impact, but
I'm not even looking at you. Keep talking. I'm not even looking at you.
Game of Thrones, man. I mean, come on, The Sopranos is good. It's really good.
It has a dragon.
What's wrong? What you got against dragons, man?
Nothing.
You talked about discriminating 2 weeks ago against chicken tenders.
Yeah, man,
what's your hate for the dragons?
Man, we're talking about real life gangsters and showing you how they do it in real life. This is how it goes down from setting it up to knocking it down.
It's so real. The
right,
Sopranos.
it's so real. And then we got The Wire showing you the mean streets of what it really looks like. And then we're gonna put that and say, by the way, people are fighting with dragons.
I don't know, man. We need to get a 1-800-DRAGON helpline in here, man. I mean, they're just getting pounded.
And normally people say, "Don't add me." No, add me with that.
Here. Let me. I think that in a similar way, there are. This is not gonna work because I was gonna say there's a dime a dozen mafia shows, but now there's a dime a dozen dragon fantasy shows. I just think what I love about Game of Thrones is that fantasy element. It gives you an opportunity to go to a different world and you suspend your disbelief a little bit. And Sopranos was so well done and but it's very dark. And Game of Thrones is intense and dark at times, but I enjoy riding the dragon, man.
Look, in all seriousness, I'm just not a fan of Game of Thrones. I know plenty of people who are, and I get it. I think the thing that I hear about it that's very impressive is that you never know who's going to get killed off the show.
Until the last two seasons when you can just
then you can, I guess,
draw it right up.
So I respect it, but again, when you're putting it up against these two, all I see is greatness, dragon. So let's move on.
You know, Josh the Juice was appalled that Breaking Bad was not a part of it.
And he should be, because at the end of the day, if you really want to make it tough,
should be over what?
Over Game of Thrones.
Oh man.
I'm not with you on that one. Game of Thrones is better than Breaking Bad, but I'm with you.
Breaking Bad
deserves a seat at the table.
Have y'all not learned I don't need assistance when it comes to having somebody back me up on this, man? I got Juice, but if Juice was against me, I'd still rock. If Hank was against me, Juice, I got your back. Don't even worry about it. I got you.
Juice is fired up for you for Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad's great, and that's the whole deal here with Table for Two. Everybody wants to be at the table, but 3 choices and just 2 seats. So we didn't burn down the lounge.
No.
That was very good.
That was awesome.
Always enjoy the Table for Two segment. And I tell you what we're going to enjoy as we shift the conversation back to the NBA playoffs. Rodney Hood and his resurgence and really, in a lot of ways, stole the show in Portland behind, C.J. McCollum was so outstanding
crazy good,
in Game 7. But Rodney Hood has become a big story in the NBA's playoffs, Meridian Zone, and we're going to talk to his former head coach in Randy Bolden, who's going to join us in the Sports Lounge coming up next. You're hanging out in the Sports Lounge with Ray Coleman. I'm John Wiener, and happy to welcome in right now special guest, Jones County coach, longtime Meridian head coach, Ray, 2-time SWAC Player of the Year.
Bad man.
Back in the day, he is a bad man. He's Randy Bolden. Coach, thanks for joining us. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, Coach, just tell us a little bit. I certainly want to ask you about your old player and Rodney Hood and your son and Rashad Bolden. But just tell us a little bit about what's going on at Jones right now. I know you're going into your 3rd year.
Well, it's very exciting times at Jones. We have just completed our 2nd year there. I mean, we finished the season 21-7. We won the regular season state champion in the South Division. We lost in the South championship. Well, in the state championship game this year, lost by 2 in overtime. So we've got we're off to a good start, man. Got a great recruiting class. Looking forward to this year. Just kind of get to that national tournament. You know how that goes.
And Ray, you no surprise there. Coach Bolden, I won 200-plus games, only lost 50 at Meridian, that things are getting off the ground in a hurry in Jones. Coach, I want to ask you about your old player in Rodney Hood and the heroics that he saw in Portland. And are you surprised, or what do you make of sort of the way Rodney, has reemerged in the Western Conference playoffs for Portland?
Well, I always thought once Rodney came into the league, I always felt like it was going to be important to find the right fit. And I think early on with Utah, I thought they ran a good system that fit the way he played. And I think when he got traded to Cleveland, it was a little ball dominance by LeBron, not to take anything from him, but Rodney is like a free flow type of guy. And I think Portland, their style of play really fits to his strength. And I'm definitely not surprised by, what's been happening, because he's definitely a very skilled and talented guy.
Coach, you kind of mentioned the right fit, the right feel. I'm watching that Portland-Denver series. It was clear that bench play was huge in that series. For Portland, they were phenomenal coming off the bench from start to finish. Kind of tell me, Rodney's niche, kind of what he brings to the table when he comes in, performs at a high level for those Trailblazers.
Well, I really think with that Denver series in particular, I thought the matchup was really well with Murray guarding him, a smaller guard. Rodney at 6'8", Murray right at 6'3". I think he saw a couple of shots go in, and as a scorer, once you see that ball go in a few times, you get in a rhythm, and it builds a lot of confidence. And I began to see the bounce in his step. Every time he got the ball, he was looking to be aggressive. So it was a very favorable matchup for him, and I thought he really took advantage of it.
It was terrific to watch. I mean, they ran everything through Rodney Hood
it was
there,
impressive, man.
in a couple of those games. And we're talking with Randy Bolden, a longtime Meridian coach, won a state championship with Rodney in 2011. And, Coach, looking at, Rodney's journey and the kind of person that he is, because I know you know him so well, we've heard a lot about how he struggled with his confidence at times and, tries to defer too much. I mean, this is a guy who just gave everybody buckets at Meridian, started at Mississippi State, went to Duke, and what a season he had there. But how do you think Rodney's kind of journey and some of the ups and downs have affected him, and how do you see him kind of handling it?
Well, I think, he's been labeled as a deferred type guy because of his demeanor. Rodney's a very laid-back type of guy, and I think once he gains confidence and knowing that the coaching staff has that confidence in him and his teammates, I think you begin to see him come out of his shell. So, and I think that stigma is kind of stuck with him, throughout his journey. But I think, with Portland, like I say, he's really, really comfortable in their system. His game really shows him a lot, got a lot of confidence in him. And I think with that being said, we're being able to see the true Rodney, and he's able to display his talent out there.
We know Rodney kind of suffered a little bone bruise there towards the end of that series.
Yeah, weird play, too.
Weird play.
Working back on the pick.
Just kind of awkward. We hope, obviously, he makes a full recovery, and we expect him to. What do you expect his contributions to be in this upcoming round in the matchup with Golden State, Coach? And
just how do you see the whole series, Coach, Portland and Golden State?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this. Golden State is definitely going to have him on the scout report. He's definitely going to be a guy that they focus on to make sure that he doesn't come off and score 19, 20 points. I know that he's going to definitely be a guy that Golden State looks to try to, shut down, so to speak. So, but I think Rodney will be fine. I think with him being a big guard, being able to play off the screen and roll, being able to either get into the foul line a lot, I think that's been the biggest thing with Rodney. When he gets to the foul line and like I say, see a few shots go in, he's a rhythm guy. And I think he's in a great rhythm. So I'm looking at a Game 7. I'm predicting that it's going to be a Game 7, and if Portland can keep it close in Golden State, don't be surprised if Portland pull it out.
Randy, you were such a great player at Forest Hill, and you look at Rodney Hood in the league right now in the NBA, and he's really one of the few guys from this state in the NBA. You got Isaiah Kanan, from Biloxi, who's been who's bounced around the league. But Randy, are you surprised, or does it stand out to you that Rodney's the only guy that with a state that's so talented, that values sports so much, that there aren't more Mississippi guys kind of carrying the banner in the NBA?
Yeah, it's a bit surprising, but there's a lot of talented guys out here, and what makes Rodney unique, like I say, 6'8" with 6'1" skills, and that's hard to come by when you're 6'8", you're able to shoot it like a 6'3" point guard. When you're able to handle it and make decisions like a guard, so that's special. And like I say, not to take away from the Mississippi guys, that league is hard to play in, and it takes a different type of guy to play in that league. And I think it's all a phase. I think it'll hit a point where we'll have 2 or 3 guys in the league once again, like when Monte and all those guys was in the league, and Al Jefferson all was in the league at the same time. I think we'll hit that phase once again. It's just a cycle, and I think we're in that cycle right now.
Coach, you talked about, being 6'8", having that DNA that can translate well to the next level. Your son obviously got some of your good DNA. He
plays 6'8", man. He's only about 6 feet, but he plays 6'8".
And he got some of your great DNA, and obviously basketball IQ. What can you tell us about your son, both on and off the court, Coach? He's obviously a phenomenal player on the court, but what can you tell us about your son just in general?
Well, this is about to go against everything I stand for, because actually I'm riding with him now. He's driving. We're headed to the gym. So I definitely hate to stroke his ego, but honestly, he is a talented kid. I mean, the thing about it is Rashad is a relentless worker. He loves to get in the gym and improve his skill, work on his skill, and I think you guys get a chance to see it because of behind the scene work he's put in.
And finally, Coach, you're having a lot of success there in Jones, and we've seen what, Coach Flanagan, the guys have done at Holmes, and, JUCO basketball really strong in this state right now. But when you go back to your whole career, Randy, I mean, coming out of Jackson and Forest Hill, had such a great career in the SWAC, played overseas, won a state championship as a head coach at Meridian. Just what stands out to you? What does it mean to you to have gone through that journey?
Well, I would have never dreamed of having, the success that basketball has given me. Basketball has granted me an opportunity that I never would have dreamed of. I mean, from being able to play all over the country, play all over the world, to, being able to change kids' life in my profession now, having a son that, has a chance to be a really good special basketball player. I tell you, John, life is just good, man. I mean, I can't complain. I mean, and the biggest thing we talk about Rashad, but I would be remiss if I don't say, even though he's a talented kid, man, he's a straight A student at St. Andrews. That speaks a lot, of the hard work he puts in the classroom. So I definitely, I think I'm more proud of that than anything. I say all the time, I'm just a lucky guy. I'm at a great school in Jones College. I got a great kid. Goes to a great school. I'm just living the life, man. I'm telling you, God just showing favor on me.
The great Randy Bolden with us in the Sports Lounge, living the life with us here in the lounge. Coach, we really appreciate it. You got so much reason to be proud, from Rodney in the NBA to your son Rashad, one of the top players in the state, and obviously what you're doing at Jones. So we appreciate you joining us. We'll let you get back to it. You can go back to being hard on Rashad now that you had to say nice things for him
That's right.
on the show. And enjoy the rest of the playoffs. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thanks. I appreciate y'all guys having me.
Thanks a lot, Randy.
All right, bye-bye.
Randy Bolden with us in the Sports Lounge. And Ray, when you talk about Rodney Hood, it goes back to what we talk about. Like, maybe a surprise when it's happened that it did, but this is a guy that's eminently capable, we've seen at every level, of scoring the basketball in a big way.
And you heard Coach Bolden say it, man. It was a bad fit in Cleveland, right? For a guy that LeBron has to have the ball at all times and distribute at all times. Rodney is a true rhythm player. And when he finds his rhythm, you can see that they will draw up plays for him in Portland, right? He becomes a mismatch.
Well, he's a matchup nightmare. You talk about a 6'8" with a 6'1" game with the range, and that's what I mean. Like, we know Rodney Hood has that 16, 20 point per game kind of game.
No question. And he's playing with confidence. I cannot stress that enough. Yes, he's an NBA player, so he's one of the best players in the world. But even these guys have ups and downs when it comes to confidence. And when it's high, you're seeing what you see right now. My hope for him is that he heals. He's closer to 100% as he can be for this time of the year, man. He goes out and competes, because if he plays like he plays in that Denver series, the Blazers will give Golden State some trouble. Yeah,
you heard Coach Bolden talk about the bounce and the step. When you got a long shooter like that, all of a sudden you extend and that ball starts getting over the rim and seeing the bottom of the net. Rodney's seen the bottom of the net a lot. So we're excited for the Western Conference playoffs. Coming up, game time. I really wish I could just import Rodney Hood to come take some of these shots.
You might need him.
I really do. I need something, man.
He's busy right now, so you got to take this L by yourself.
We're going to have some fun either way. Coming up, game time in the Sports Lounge.
You are in the Sports Lounge. Follow us online at Bash Brothers Media and share, like, and follow the show to enter to win a one-night stay for two at Waterview.
Game time in the Sports Lounge, and look, we give zero you-know-whats in here in the Sports Lounge. So we've played everything, Ray, from Pop-A-Shot to skee ball to crossfire to mini hoops, and I figured this week, in honor of graduation weekend, folks headed to college, folks leaving college, either way, let's play some beer pong. We don't play around in the Sports Lounge. No. I mean, this is real stuff, so we got real beer in the cups. Brought to you by Colson. Shout out Doug Colson, one of the best beers going right now, man. So we've got beer in the cup. Everybody knows the rules. It's real simple. We're each going to get 2 shots. You make it, you take it. Yeah. We're looking for the first cups off and win, and you make it and you drink it.
So do I get the honors of going first?
As the winner, every week pretty much now, you get the honors.
All right, let's go, man. Let's get this thing started off right.
Right away. I thought you hadn't played this, man. Just rolling his shoulders and stuff. It's a little short. Well, you got one.
Okay. All right.
So Job one in the beer pong.
Atta baby.
Colson's is good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you, and we're doing also like gentleman rewraps.
Sure. I
Make this
appreciate
thing
that.
easy. No
I
one
do
be here
appreciate
all
that.
night.
Oh, it's all right.
That was
all right.
close to the table.
Cool. Ooh. All right. Going down.
I'm already down.
Oh,
Looks good. It looks good.
it feels good.
Ooh, it's getting late early. Man, really, bro?
I'm glad that Colson's is good.
I'm about to get out now. I'm glad it is too. I'm gonna move it back for you. Already against the ropes. Back of the cup. There
Oh,
it
okay.
is.
Here we go.
Back
Here
of
we
the
go.
cup.
Here
It's
we
gonna
go.
Get hot. Give me another one.
Oh, you almost got hot.
It's your
You
turn.
almost got
Okay,
hot.
hey, look, I'm down to the last one, man.
Respect, man.
This is the money shot here.
Respect.
Man.
Almost. Game time. Ooh,
No, it's this
bad.
cup. It's
Yeah,
this
that
cup
one.
right here. Hey, Chief.
Oh.
I was feeling hot with that
I
one.
was nervous
I
on
was
that one,
feeling
I won't
hot.
lie.
I pulled quick, man.
I was nervous. No, I was
All right,
nervous.
here we go.
I was
Down to
nervous.
the
Here we
nitty
go.
gritty.
Let's go. Let's go.
Guess I gotta make this one. Did you hit? Was that your first? Was that your first?
That
hit?
was my first.
That was your first shot.
That was my first
yeah.
shot.
So if you make this one, I don't even get to shoot. It's gonna bury me like that.
Going home.
Bury me like that.
Oh, it's too.
Gotta make one of these. I gotta drink it first.
Yeah. I do appreciate your professionalism on this.
I do
though.
like games where if I
Yeah.
lose, I get drunk. Nothing wrong with that. Wow. Oh
Nope.
man,
Nope.
hell with this.
Nope.
I need to drink like this whole thing now.
Let me tell you something. Shout out to Colson. Shout out to the Sports Lounge. And what do we all say?
No one says that.
No one says that.
No one says that except you.
Winners win.
The Sports Lounge is brought to you by the Sportsbook at Waterview Casino in Vicksburg, giving you the edge in sports betting.
New game, same result in the Sports Lounge. Speaking of new, we
Yeah.
got some new additions here in the lounge. So the winner has a legend change.
Yeah. And I'm not really an accessory type of guy. You know, the wedding band, obviously Team Sands always. But I don't wear watches or necklaces. But
No,
this one,
you deserve that.
I mean, I do. I'm gonna have to agree with you.
No, but like when you win, like game time in the lounge, you know,
Yeah.
it's time for bling, it's time for hardware,
It's a good look.
time for championship stuff. And so the winner each week here is gonna get to don the legend chain. I may get to wear it by the time like football
By the time
season
football
rolls
season comes
around. ISO Joe, you got an official report on game time.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. We got a legend here in the Sports Lounge now. Ray takes a W, and that was a close game. I mean, it came down to the wire.
Yeah.
You know, Ray started off hot. John came back.
Yeah.
And obviously, Ray was able to get the ice in the veins and finish it off.
ISO Joe, I got a question for you. Do you think you would beat me and Ray in beer pong?
I think I'd beat both of you, yeah.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I don't know where my hot streaks came from, but if ISO Joe, if we were on one end, he
I
was
should
on
have
the
done
other.
a celebrity shot and
I
just
know.
brought ISO Joe
I know, we
in.
should have, because he
Would've
would have
drained
iced
that.
us both.
Well, speaking of game time and speaking of new things, that's not the only new thing we got in the Sports Lounge. So the winner, Ray, gets a legend chain,
Yeah.
and we've got our game wheel here.
Nice, man. And look, I'm looking at some of these games. We are truly going back to our childhood here. When I look on the board right now, the first thing that stands out to me, believe it or not, is NHL '94.
One of the great video
One of
games
the
of
great-
all time on Sega.
Is it not?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
from the the first thing that stands out to me is they let you fight.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
It was fantastic. And so we do have some video games, but I mean, we span the gamut, man. We've got
Give it to
Papa
'em,
Shot,
yeah.
we've got Connect
Come
4,
on.
Skee Ball, play some old-fashioned darts, beer pong, like
Yeah.
we already talked
And
about. This
then-
intense Jenga game
And
that we
then
had. Yeah.
you took them back to before board games were even a thing. Rock, paper, scissors.
Right, how did
man.
you play games like in the Civil War time? You
Rock, paper,
just shot it
scissors,
that
shoot.
way. So
That's
here's
awesome.
here's what we're gonna do to help us decide which game we're gonna play
Yeah.
every week, and so that we can know, we're gonna spin the game wheel right here in the
Yep.
Sports Lounge every week to set us up for next week. So you win, you spin.
You win, you spin. Let's see what we got, man.
It's kind of a weak spin, but it's working. Look at that thing.
Ooh. Rocks, paper, scissors. Let's go, man. The original.
How about that? So that'd be a good one next week. And so we're already decided. That's the game wheel. We'll have rocks, paper, scissors. When I lose that one too, it's going to be particularly tough to take because there's like some mental capacity in there, and like I pride myself as like someone with some acumen and intellect, but like I feel like I'm cruising for
what it's worth. All it takes is
one. Can
we
get putt on here?
You should. I mean, listen, man.
We're gonna have to change them out. I mean, we couldn't even fit all the games on the Sports Lounge on the wheel.
For what it's worth, all it takes is one for you to start a hot streak.
That's right.
All it takes is one. Now, when you get that one. We don't know here in the Sports Lounge.
Well, so far the records, Joe. What do we got on our Gametime records?
One versus. I mean,
I think it's 1 and 7 here.
7
for your boy.
Yeah, and so I missed last week obviously, but had I been here, you just put the W on my name too.
Well, we've got a legend chain to play for now. We've got some bling and some real hardware in the Sports Lounge. I know what game we're playing. You know what I mean? Now, like
now you can prepare.
I gotta find somebody to practice rocks paper scissors against.
Hag and Hank.
Hag and Hank will murder me in rocks paper scissors,
That's
man.
True. That's
I can tell you that much. Like he blind squirrels and acorns over there, but like he'll beat me in rocks paper scissors. Now see me on the track, man.
Yeah, that's right.
New segment, our parting shots.
Yeah.
So just one deal, look, we do this once a week. There's all kinds of stuff brewing up and burning and boiling and maybe good things you want to say, whatever it is. So we'll head out of the Sports Lounge, take a parting shot. ISO Joe, what do you got?
I got the New York Knicks, man. It's their shot to turn things around. And for those of you who are just joining and don't really know who ISO Joe is, I'm from New York. So I got to be a Knicks fan. You know it. And this is our one chance, man. We've been bad for so long. It's the chance to turn everything around. So I'm excited for this draft lottery to see who we end up because there are a lot of good guys in that top 4 range right now, whether it's Zion Williamson, RJ Barrett, or Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Talk about a parting shot like 3 years in the making. Like we've been hearing about this from Knicks fans. Like going into 2020 was the year. So we'll see. I feel Joe on that parting shot. Go ahead.
For me, man, this sounds horrible. I'm so thankful the Houston Rockets lost in the playoffs.
Okay.
We've kind of talked about it here as far as the type of play that you like to see. I do not like the type of play where we put so much investment into the analytics that we forget what real basketball is. You're passing up wide open, mid-range jumpers so you can take a step back 3. All the complaints on the flops, man. We talk about adding to the game. The flops and the complaining on the calls, that takes forever. I'm so thankful that does not win in this case, and good team basketball from the Warriors. Even though they have superstars, they play good team ball. Trailblazers, Milwaukee Bucks, Raptors, all of them play good team basketball, and that's what we should focus on.
Really well said. Couldn't agree more with that one. Good parting shots from both of you guys. And I'm going to go with Liverpool Football Club. And when you talk about the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, to use the ABC Y Word of Sports famous phrase, like that is what Liverpool has experienced. When you put these last 2 weeks into perspective, this is a team like the New York Yankees of old in the Premier League, and they haven't won a title since 1989, and they have thirsted for it. They had been on a quest, and they didn't make it. They fell a point short and lost the title again to Manchester City. And guys, it was the highest point total in history to not win the Premier League. So after all of that, so Liverpool had all of that agony this past weekend, but coming up, they're playing in a Champions League final against Ajax, and I as hurtful as the Premier League championship that wasn't for Liverpool, you have another opportunity in the Champions League final. And guys, like we talk about, like SEC football, European football, like Liverpool in the Champions League is as big as it gets in the sports world. So 2 sides of the coin there. They hope, or you may just have a double dose of despair. Good to have you back in the Sports Lounge.
Glad to be back, man.
Good to see you with some hardware on your neck. I'm coming for it eventually.
Thank you for bringing it forward, and it will stay where it belongs.
Rocks, paper, scissors coming up next week. Our game wheel. Big shout out to Randy Bolden for joining us. Great conversation that was.
Man.
You talk about a guy living the life.
Yeah, he's living a dream, man. Got a kid that he's so proud of, both on and off the court. Straight A student, phenomenal player as well. So, man, everything going right in the Bolden household.
Well, look, we're living the life here in the Sports Lounge, and we encourage you, obviously, follow us, like our pages, and make sure you share the show. We feel like there's no better show going right now on Sports Ray in Mississippi and across the nation. We have so much fun. We play a ton of games, but really great talk and insight and guests and the whole work. So we want to make sure we get everybody involved. And come on into the Sports Lounge. ISO Joe, Hagen Hank, Josh the Juice, Ray Coleman. I'm John Wiener. This is the Sports Lounge. Join us next week.